If you need a people hauler and you find the Honda Odyssey to be too small, the Hyundai Starex to be too pedestrian, and the Toyota Albar to be too expensive, well then there's a new kid on the block, and that's the British brand LDV Maxus G10 minivan. And today, we're going to review it. Let's do this. Hello again guys, I'm Reagan and we are back here at Maxus Quezon Avenue where we will feature our very first van in the channel, the Maxus G10. Now I'd like to extend a special shout out and thank you to our friends at Maxus Quezon Avenue for this opportunity to do a review of this people hauler. Now, I'm not much of a van type of person. I'm more of an SUV/sports car type of guy. But I must admit that vans have a place and purpose in this world, especially for those with large families or people who just want that extra large space without the harshness of an SUV. Unfortunately, the local car industry also reflects my sentiment because when it comes to SUVs, you've got a ton of options. But when it comes to vans and people haulers, the options are few and far in between. Normally, when you're buying a van that's priced at less than 2 million pesos, you get a people hauler that is completely devoid of options and creature comforts. So that's why it's quite interesting that LDV Maxus brought in the G10, which comes in below 2 million pesos, but at the same time has the creature comforts and features that are found in pricier luxury vans. Now, typically, people who buy vans don't really care much when it comes to exterior looks, but since we are a discerning car channel, let's devote a few minutes to the exterior looks of the G10, shall we? Now, my first impression on this van when I first saw it was that it looks like an overgrown Honda Odyssey. I mean, it completely departs from the traditional boxy silhouette of a van, and instead it has this nice sleek hood with these body lines and character lines there that were all designed in the Torino Design Center in Italy. So you could really see the European influences here, especially since LDV Maxus is a British brand after all. Now for the headlights, it continues with that sleek swept back look. You've got a nicely designed headlight housing here, and you have your projector style headlights, but these are still halogen bulbs, so there's that. It's not an LED headlight. Now, this projector housing has this nice blue accent there, which at first I thought were LED DRLs, but they're not. They're just nice to look at. And you've got this shiny black strip up top, which I also thought were DRLs, but they're also not. So your G10 in the Philippines don't get any DRLs at all. Now, in between your headlights, you got this nice big chrome grille with your Maxus logo right there. And the design cues that reminds me of an Honda Odyssey are these nice sporty lines found on the front bumper. It even comes with these sporty front bumper spoiler, which adds to that sleek look of the G10. Now granted, you really can't do much in terms of styling when it comes to vans, but I have to give Maxus an A for effort for giving it a shot to make it look sleeker despite its size. Now moving to the side of the G10, you could see that the effort to minimize the boxy shape of the van is more evident here. You get a couple of body lines here, and you get this matte aluminum strip right down there, and you even have a sporty side skirt that seeks to reduce that slab-sidedness feel of the G10 van and give it a sleeker look. Now to further complement that, the roof line of the van tapers all the way down to the rear, which gives it a visual illusion as if it is smaller and sleeker than it is, and it works. Because at first I thought that this was smaller than the Hyundai Starex, but apparently it turns out they are actually the same size. Now when it comes to the wheels and tires, you get 16-inch alloy wheels in nobody cares tire sizes because honestly guys, people who buy vans, they don't really give a shit about what kind of tire size they're running. Now to open the van, you've got dual sliding doors on both sides, of course, and I don't know if you noticed, but the step up going into the van requires a step up. So this is something that you need to consider if you're having trouble getting in and out of a vehicle, and that's why you're buying a van, because, well, if you're vertically challenged or you just have difficulty getting in, this might be an issue for you. And that's the reason why G10 Maxus, the G10 also comes with these grab handles so that you won't lose your balance when you get inside your van. Okay, so might be a problem for vertically challenged people like myself. Anyway, let's go to the back. Now, when you go to the rear of the G10, you'd expect to find the boxy silhouette typical of most vans, but you can find none of that in the G10. Instead, you have here this sexy European styling for the rear, which starts off with this nice sporty rear spoiler up top, to this curved glass here for your rear greenhouse glass panel. Now, when you go to the tail lights, it also departs from the usual vertical tail lights found in most local vans. Instead, these LED units here look like they belong in an SUV rather than a passenger van. You get this nice chrome strip here. You've got a rear view camera there and a matte aluminum strip here at the bottom, which serves to break off the vastness of the giant liftgate. Now, going to the rear bumper itself, the bumper has been styled to look like it has a rear skirt. So it adds to that sporty flavor of the Maxus G10. It also has a couple of rear fog lights there, which is typically found in European cars. And that explains it because, well, LDV Maxus is a British brand after all. Now, when you open the giant liftgate, you will notice that it's a manual liftgate. So it's not a power-assisted liftgate. So that's something that, that I think the G10, the Maxus G10 missed out, because this would have been great if there were a power liftgate. Because look, I got a little bit of muscle on me, but check out how I close this thing. Yeah, see? You'll really have to let go of all your finesse when you try to close this giant thing, because this thing is heavy. So anyway, opening the manual liftgate again, you will see that the G10 is a 4-row passenger van that seats 9 passengers. And with the 4th row up, you can still put a broom or maybe a mop. But forget about putting any kind of bag there, not even a handbag, because there's really no space found there anymore. Now, if you need your luggage space, you could always tumble down the front row by pulling on this tag here and pulling on this tag on the other side. All right, and you have this kick bar here that you just have to lift, right? And when you lift it, you can now get your 4th row out of the way. But that reduces your seating capacity from 9 to 6. But then with 6 passengers, you can now fit maybe like 4 golf bags here, standing upright even, because this thing is quite tall. And you could even put a couple of luggage inside. But forget about putting a giant balikbayan box. I don't think it will fit with the 4th row here. I don't even know also if you could remove this. I don't think you could. So that's the thing about the G10 though. It's got these nice creature comforts, passenger comfort. But when it comes to cargo versatility, well, it's not that versatile. So you won't be able to put larger items here because of the captain's seats inside, which doesn't really fold away. So if you're going to haul some larger stuff, you might as well bring your Maxus T60 pickup with you instead of bringing the G10. So anyway, let's go over to the engine just to see what kind of motor powers this giant baby. Yeah. Whew. Let's go. Now the G10 is a front engine van similar to a Hyundai Starex, so accessing the engine is actually easier than if the engine were mounted underneath the driver's seat. Ugh, boiled eggs. Anyway, the engine that we have here is a 1.9-liter common rail turbo diesel engine that is sourced from Peugeot. It's good for 150 horsepower and 350 Newton meters of torque. Now that's a lot of pulling power for a passenger van, which is great, and the engine is mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission that is sourced from ZF. Now, this engine and this transmission coming from these established manufacturers would mean that you'll have many years of dependable and durable runs with your G10. Now, one thing odd that I find though is the way the engine is mounted. You see, the G10 is a rear-wheel drive van, and yet the engine is transverse mounted as if it's an engine for a front-wheel drive car. So it's uncanny. I wonder how they did that. Well, beats me. Now anyway, let's go inside the G10 just to see if it has the chops to be called a party van. Now when it comes to interior reviews, normally I begin it with a driver's side point of view, but since most van buyers here in the Philippines would normally just sit in the back seat of the G10, I may as well take you to the best seats in the house first. So upon opening the manual sliding door, you will see that it is a manual sliding door. It's not a power sliding door. It's not really a big deal. Why? Because, well, it's below 2 million and it makes up for it with the seats. While other pricier luxury vans get 2 captain seats here in the 2nd row, the G10 gives you 4 captain seats. You've got a couple of captain seats on the 2nd row and a couple of captain seats on the 3rd row as well. So yes, you get 4 captain seats. Now these seats are finished in a combination of leather and cloth. You've got leather sides with a white contrast stitching here, and you've got your center cloth insert, which is quite practical and functional because it will keep your back cool while you are lounging in your captain seat being driven around in a hot tropical day. So now let's get inside the van just to see what kind of toys you can get and so we can experience these fantastic seats. Let's go. Wow, wow, OMG, wow. These second row captain seats, wow, these are great. I mean, what kind of a van will give you a second row and a third row captain seat for under 2 million pesos? Only the Maxus G10. The seats themselves are very comfortable, and I love the fact that Maxus put in a couple of footrests that can be found here at the bottom of the driver and front passenger seat. So that's a thoughtful touch which will help you relax in your G10 even more. Now for toys, you don't really get that much, but you do get a few. You have a 12-volt charger here at the bottom along with a 220-volt power socket that will help you power your bigger gadgets like a laptop or even an electric fan if you want to. Not that you'd need an electric fan though, because you've got your ceiling mounted AC vents on all 3 rows at the back, so that should keep everyone perfectly cool and comfortable. You also get your ceiling mounted reading lights here, so seated here you'd feel like you are in the business class seat of a major airline because you have a nice cool climate, and you also get your reading lights. Now let's get over to the third row captain seats just to experience what it's like to be in premium economy. If this is business class, let's go to premium economy next. Alright, so we're here at the third row of the G10, and you also get captain seats. However, this is not the full-on, full-blast business class experience. Why? Because instead of getting a couple of armrests, you only get one. You get one here, and you don't get an armrest here at the other side. So it's a little bit, you get scrimped on a little bit. So this is more of a premium economy experience. Now the front seat is adjusted to somebody of my height. I'm 5'6", and this adjusts to somebody who just wanted to recline a little bit, like some of those airline passengers in front of you in premium economy who just wants to recline a little bit. You still get a good amount of leg room here in terms of space, but granted, I am 5'6", so maybe that's the reason why I'm a little bit comfortable here. If you're somebody who's a little bit taller, like a 6-footer or above, you are better served going to the front passenger, being the driver, or taking the best seats in the house, the business class seats right here. You also get your reading lights here and your AC vents, but you don't get any power outlets. You don't get USB ports, you don't get a 12-volt charger. So yeah, as I mentioned, premium economy. Now let's go over to the piece of fare seats of the G10, and that's way back in the 4th row. Yeah. All right. So I'm right here at the very back of the G10. As you can see, yes, this is a bench type seat, so you could seat 3 people here in a pinch. That makes it a total of 9 passengers. You do have AC vents here, but hopefully the guys here in the premium economy seats will be gracious enough to give you some air at the back. Otherwise, you're stuck with almost no air. So in terms of legroom, the legroom is also still pretty decent. It's pretty similar to most third row seats of mid-size SUVs. It's not that cramped, but it's also not that spacious as well. Well, what would you expect? You didn't pay as much as the business class passengers or the premium economy passengers. You paid the piece of fare, so you get piece of fare benefits here. You don't have any charging ports. You don't get any like cup holders, but you do get, safety first, you get a 3-point seat belt as well. So anyway guys, we're done with this passenger interior area. Now let's go over to the driver's side just to see how it feels like if you're the guy who got the shortest stick amongst the group and you're the guy who got chosen to drive this party van. Let's go. Okay. Alright guys, so the driver's seat may not be the best seats in the house, but you do get some nice seats and some toys to keep you entertained and relaxed at the same time. You get, the driver in the Yaya gets a power adjustable seat, so you have that. You have the same material seats found here, as, the same as the ones in the passenger area. And a thoughtful touch is both front passenger and driver gets these nice armrests to help you drive comfortably and more relaxed while you are chauffeuring your sleeping passengers in their captain seats. For your steering wheel, you've got a nice leather wrap steering wheel. It's nice to the touch. You got 4 spokes. You got your usual buttons here for your cruise control and for your infotainment and Bluetooth calling and all that. Your instrument gauges are pretty much the traditional Maxus instrument gauges, the usual speedo, the tach, and a small information display in the middle telling you your vital stuff. Now, when you go to the infotainment screen, you got a 7-inch screen, a little bit on the tiny side, especially during today's modern times. But you also have your physical audio buttons here at the bottom part of the screen. You don't get Apple CarPlay, you don't get Android Auto, but you just get a Bluetooth connectivity, which is okay. At least you got 6 speakers here in the Maxus G10, so you'll have a much better oral experience with that. Now, you got your climate control here, all in a nicely laid out format, so you don't really need to read a thick manual just to be able to operate this climate control. And for your shifter, it's mounted right here, and there are some people or reviewers who are saying that the shifter feels cheap or it looks cheap. For me, it doesn't. I beg to disagree with that. I think it's wrapped in leather material as well. It has a nice chrome accent here and there. So yeah, it looks like a regular gear lever for me. Now, when it comes to the dashboard area, you could see the Maxus attempt to make the G10 look and feel more luxurious than it is. You got your faux wood trim here, which I have to admit looks gorgeous. And you got this nice silver texture here at the bottom, just to add a little bit more of an upscale look to it. Now, of course, you'll have to cut some costs somewhere, so you get that in your hard plastics in the top dashboard and in the bottom part of your dashboard area. So yeah, overall, this people hauler, the driver and the front passenger will not have any difficulty or will not be complaining when they get to be the ones who are assigned to drive this vehicle. So speaking of driving, I'm ready, guys. So let's take out the G10 for a drive just to see how it feels like to be the driver of this people hauler. And who knows, maybe I could get a driver to, help me experience the captain seats at the back. So let's go for the drive right now. Alright guys, so we're now behind the wheel of the Maxus G10, and wow, the last time I drove a van was like in the mid-90s. It was like that long. And I already forgot how commanding the view is. And that's what the G10 can give you. It has a tremendous amount of visibility. I mean, you're driving a van. It's practically a truck. So you got a good amount of visibility, and you got a good amount of heft as well in the steering wheel. You see, the Maxus G10 is not an electric assisted power steering wheel. Instead, it still uses the traditional hydraulic steering wheel, which for me is actually much better because you get a lot more feeling, a lot more feedback on the road than the anesthetic electric power steering wheels that we have in most modern cars. Yeah, so the seats are also mounted so high. I feel like I'm driving a giant. It's not that far off from driving, say, a lifted pickup truck like the Raptor. It's really that high. Okay, so being a van, I'm not going to expect much when it comes to its handling because, of course, it's like you're driving a big box, all right? But the suspension of the G10 is surprisingly very comfortable, and the response is surprisingly responsive. I guess that it owes to the fact that the G10 suspension is tuned by Lotus. You see a lot of these car makers, Chinese car makers, are turning to Lotus to help with their suspension tuning, and you could also see that in the Maxus G10. Of course, maneuvering this thing in traffic like what we're going through now takes a little bit more care than you would when you're driving a small crossover. You are, of course, driving a van that's good for 9 people, so you have to make sure that you don't bump into the smaller cars surrounding you. The good thing, though, is despite having a front engine here, you don't really get to see it. It's as if you're driving a van that doesn't really have a snout. Okay, we're in traffic now. In terms of braking, okay. So for your braking, given the size and the heft of the G10, you gotta give it a little bit more allowance when it comes to distance. Although you've got disc brakes on all 4 wheels, you have to take into consideration that you are driving a big and heavy car. All right. So let's put the 1.9 liter diesel engine to its paces. Okay, we're coming up an uphill incline. Oh, it can do it. It can do it. All right. Of course, the acceleration is what you'd expect from a van. It's not really that much. But at least it could still climb up inclines like that despite its heft. And the diesel engine, although it's just 1.9 liters in terms of displacement, acquits itself quite well when it comes to the acceleration department. Let's try it again. Whew. You do hear the diesel engine noise when you're accelerating, which is, I think it's quite natural and quite normal when it comes to these modern diesels. I mean, we're not really driving something that's in the multi-million peso range already, so you don't really expect to find the diesel refinement in a van like the G10. Now, when you're crawling in bumper-to-bumper traffic like what we're doing now, you could expect a fuel economy of around 8 to 10 kilometers per liter, depending on how heavy your foot is. Granted, vans aren't really the most aerodynamic vehicles out on the road, and its size and heft would mean that the engine would have to work harder to move this car. And when it comes to highway fuel economy, you could expect around 15 to 16 kilometers per liter in terms of highway fuel economy. So that's pretty decent for a diesel van of this size. Anyway, enough with this drive impression. The Maxus G10 van is meant to be experienced as a passenger, so I think it's time. Manong driver, it's my turn to sit at the back. You drive the car. Wow, this is the life. Wow. Now, as much as driving the G10 is a good enough affair, as I mentioned, the second row captain seats, these are the best seats in the house. This is the business class seat, the business class area of the Maxus G10. Wow, man. I love how comfortable and supportive the seats are, and I'm really cool with these ceiling mounted AC vents here, and I got my dual armrest and my footrest at the same time. Wow. I don't hear anything from outside, so that tells you how good the NVH levels of the G10 is. I don't hear any of that noise which could disturb my relaxation and my sleep while I am relaxing in my G10. No riffraffs could be heard inside this nice luxury van already. I mean, considering the price point, you're getting these luxury features for less than 2 million pesos. Imagine that. And let's not forget about safety, guys, because the Maxus G10 has this dual layer safety technology in terms of its body and its chassis. And you've got the usual safety bits like ABS with EBD, you've got 6 airbags and all that stuff. So you got peace of mind while you're lounging and relaxing inside your Maxus G10. Ah, man, this is so good. So good. I think I'm about to fall asleep in this car. But wait, before I fall asleep, I gotta finish this video first. Manong driver, let's go back to the showroom. I have to do an outro pa. The Maxus G10 as a passenger van is a compelling option given its creature comforts, its tech, and its price point. Maxus Philippines competitively priced this van at only 1,790,000 pesos, which, if you consider it, is similarly priced as the other commuter vans that only have a manual transmission and don't even have captain seats. Now, mind you, the G10, remember, has 4 captain seats. So this pricing level already severely undercuts a lot of premium luxury vans, and it's quite clear that the Maxus G10 is targeting the savvy van buyer who wants all of these creature comforts without paying the premium price. Once again, guys, thank you for watching one of my car reviews. If you like this review, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. I promise you I'll make it worth your while by subscribing to my channel. Anyway, guys, I'm Reagan, and I'll see you again in another video. Bye-bye.